What makes you want to think otherworldly thoughts and what makes this feel so mundane is the thing that we've been touching all day here today. And it's the difference between taking where you are and trying to make improvement about it and just dreaming bigger, just going to the place where the path is already clear. Esther, in fact, she's been mentioning this a lot lately to family and friends. She remembers when she was a kid, she didn't have a driver's license. She was 7, and she didn't have a bicycle she liked. It had big old heavy tires, and she spent one whole weekend disassembling it with her father's tools, taking everything heavy off of it. She took all the fenders off and the baskets and everything that weighted it down. She took it off because it was just a really heavy bicycle with big tires and was still heavy. So Esther was walking nearly everywhere, and she felt that incredible impatience about just wanting to be somewhere, but she just had to put one foot in front of the other in order to get there. And it's the way physicality sometimes feels to you if you are not allowing the energy that creates worlds to accomplish some things. You're trying way too hard. You're working way too hard. You're trying to attach meaning to the past in order to affect where you think you're going next. You're wanting to clean something up before you can feel like you are going forward. You don't feel worthy of just letting in what you want, so you're looking for some way of justifying it by going back into the past, which describes almost every other human on the planet in some way. It's no wonder you want to go off and create some other world somewhere else, because this one's all jumbled up with the thoughts of humans. But it does not have to be. Out of all of that, you can find some clarity. This is helpful to all of you. So think of the world and the people of the world and the ideas that the people of the world might be focused upon. They want, for sake of simplicity, to make their minds up about things, to establish beliefs about things, and to categorize and pigeonhole things. And so humans join together in groups and subject groups, and they have a group that they call Republican, and a group that they call Democrat, and a group that they call sexually oriented toward same-sex and sexually oriented toward opposite sex. And there are mathematicians, and there are doctors, and just every subject that you can imagine are in this pile of beingness. And most humans, you're doing it here now, are trying to understand the piles and pick from the piles and choose the best from the piles and be appreciated by the most piles, and so on and so forth. And we would like you to approach these piles in a simpler way and just acknowledge them as there's just 2 piles. There's a pile that's under the influence of source right now, and a pile that's under the influence of something other than source right now. A pile of peoples we're talking about who are in alignment. There are some who are dancing right now who are all those other things. They might be doctors, they might be dancers, and they might be politicians, they might be all kinds, they might be represented in many piles. But now that they're dancing, they're in the alignment pile. They're in the under the influence of source pile. And so we would like to suggest and help you to think less about the things that humans usually think about in terms of understanding yourself in relationship to everyone else, and just think about yourself only for a little while in relationship to your own inner being, period. Because when you do that, after a while, that idea of trying to get an A, it no longer applies, because whenever you're in sync with your inner being, you just know your value and your wholeness, and the love is transmitting to you, from you, to you, from you, to you, from you, and any recognition of how you're being perceived or received by others is irrelevant to you, because you just so know who you are. You're right to the core of who you be. You're in the under the influence of source pile, you see. Everything that we've been talking about here today is to help you to get into the under the influence from source pile, and to be approaching life from that point of view, because when you're there, then you activate everything on every subject that's important to you, and you live happily ever after. Everything that everyone is reaching for, every single thing that a person wants or believes they want, whether it's a pile of money or a material object or a relationship or someone to love them, it doesn't matter. Anything that anybody ever wanted or wants is because they believe they will feel better in the having of it. And so our entire conversation today is about just finding some subject in which it's easy for you to feel good, and that is your work. And until you're doing that, then any other conversation is sort of frustrating and unsettling and really futile in the sense that it does not accomplish anything. You see, we have never forgiven anyone because we have never judged anyone inappropriate to begin with, and so there's no undoing that ever needs to be done from source energy. Source never looks back. Source is always looking forward. And so when you're asking for forgiveness, you're clearly looking back, and you're clearly asking someone else to look back. But the most important thing to know is that you are not under the influence of source pile in that moment. The departure from that makes everything else dim by comparison. It's sort of like spinning in your own juices, or spinning your wheels, or just going through the motions of life and never really getting to where you want to be. Well, you've already launched the rockets, and your vortex is full of all the things you want, and you have a whole cadre of non-physical friends all lined up focused with you, and all you have to do is find a way to get yourself in the vibrational vicinity of all of that, where all of that lights up for you. But you are like so many people, you're so much in your head that energy is not moving. And so if you can find a subject that's easy to feel light about, you see, you're feeling defensive, and we get that. You're feeling on the spot. You're right here in front of a lot of people, but you represent the way so many people feel. You're not an anomaly in this room. Almost everybody in this room has desires and beliefs, and their beliefs are keeping them from their desires, and they don't know what to do about it. And somebody can talk all day long about, well, just focus on the desire, focus on the desire. But the desire is not what has your attention. Life and the reality that you think you are living is what's got your attention. And you're so wrapped up in what is that you're not moving to what could be. And you're helping us make that point in a really strong way. You feel stuck because you are stuck. You're energetically stuck because your awareness is so much on what is. But it doesn't have to be that way. It would be so easy for you to have a sort of vibrational breakthrough just by finding one thing. But you know what's tripping you up? It doesn't feel to most people that the efficient way to solve all these problems is to ignore them. It doesn't feel to most people like the efficient way, because most people don't get it, that all these problems on this end of the stick represent all these solutions on this end of the stick. The practical mind says, I do this and I get this result from this thing that I have done. That's what the practical mind says. But that practical mind also considers so many things that for every step that way, you take a step that way. A practical mind is that really objective mind that goes this way and 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 this way. Where if you can leave your practicality behind and just dream something a little bit and not need the evidence to show itself to you so fast, then two things would happen. Things would start moving. You'd feel more elated. You would lose your sense of impatience. That's the thing. You would lose your sense of impatience. And that sense of impatience must be gone and must be replaced by a sense of optimism and forward motion for you to be getting where you think you want to go, or for you to be having fun along the way to where you're going. And so we keep saying the words, we want you to look for the fun along the way, and it will get you there, but don't need to be there. Do it for the feeling, not for the results that the feeling will bring. You're willing to quote us chapter and verse. You're willing to study it all and learn it all and know it all so that you can get it all, but your awareness that it isn't coming is palpable around you, you see. And we could describe that in a few words, like yearning. But you see, it's okay, because over here with impatience is yearning, and over here with impatience and yearning is indecision and confusion. It's okay, because it's just a moment in time because of what you're choosing to focus on. The whole conversation that we're having today is about, here I am, I'm in a physical body, and I have a point of attraction, and my point of attraction is everything, and my point of attraction is based upon how I feel. But I've been oriented into this world, and I've been taught that perfection is a good thing. It's not only not a good thing, it's an impossible thing, because if you could ever be perfect, you'd be done, and then there'd be no reason for contrast and so forth. So here I am in this physical world, and I want to be of value. I want to be an uplifter. I want to help other people. But in order to do that, I have to be a vibrational match to who I am. And who I am does not give any attention to how others are relating to me. How you feel is only about your relationship between you and your own inner being. That's all the emotion that you feel is about. And so what you are a really good representative. Esther's this way too. Almost everybody on the planet is this way to some extent. Esther has a friend, they talk all the time, and her friend says, I feel like I give myself away all the time because it's easier for me to figure out what others want or what they need from me or what I could do. We started with this conversation here this morning, and so I just keep giving myself to them rather than finding vibrational alignment with who I really am and allowing who I really am to then give endless energies in endless moments in time that open up. And so there's just a little reorientation that we're wanting to help you accomplish. We said earlier that there are reasons that we ask people to come up here. We've never felt a stronger desire from anyone ever. Your desire to be of value is immeasurable, and your willingness to do whatever it takes is too. We just, with your permission and not, wanted to let you be an example of so many people that are in this room, where trying too hard is an indication that you're not in your vortex, and caring what other people think is an indication that you're not in alignment with who you really are. The whole point that we've been wanting to make all day today is that if you can just shift that one thing, everything shifts with it. But if you don't shift that one thing, then you have an endless life of trying to fix this. Your whole life is spent putting out brush fires, eking forward, and then trying to make things out of nothing. Trying to make things out of nothing when the entire universe is there ready to yield to you the allness that you want. You're not here to make do with what is. You're here to create things that most of the world thinks are impossible to create. But you're so needing and wanting to get the impossibility thinkers out of your arena so that you can be a vibrational match to all the possibilities. Now we're getting somewhere, aren't we? Yeah. The shift feels big, but it is so simple to do. It's so simple to do. All it requires is letting all the stuff go that you've been hammering and pounding on and trying to get right, and just find something that makes you feel good when you do it and do it, or makes you feel good when you think it and think it. That's all. It is so much easier.